So what are you doing this weekend? Oh, nothing special as planned, I replied. On Friday evening, we are going to have dinner with friends, and the weekend is almost free. I'll probably go to the beach, maybe go for a swim. In general, I plan to relax. Sounds great, and I have a bachelor party coming up this weekend that I'm dreading, but it'll probably be fun when I get there. Bachelor party. Wonderful. He thought I didn't know, but knowing his friends, a bachelor party means a lot of drinking and probably going to a nightclub. You'll have a great time, as always. Just, try to stay away from those questionable activities that your friends might want to do. Long-distance relationships can be difficult. We'd been together since university, but now we'd been apart for 2 months as my job sent me on a 6-month rotation abroad in an exotic, hot climate, but also in a completely different time zone. During the week, our opportunities to talk were limited as one of us was usually either working or sleeping when the other wanted to chat, so we grabbed moments when we could. Of course, I promised to be careful. I'm already counting down the minutes until my flight to you. I miss you. 4 weeks seems like an eternity. I miss you too. If only he knew. We could talk, we could text, but what I missed most was being with him and feeling his touch. I hated to admit it to myself, but I missed physical intimacy even more than emotional intimacy. I needed him to be inside me. My plans for his arrival largely stayed within the confines of the bedroom. We had phone sex whenever we could, but it was no substitute for reality, and I became accustomed to touching myself daily to relieve sexual tension. So, what about dinner tomorrow night? Who and where? At one of the best hotels here, they have a celebrity chef doing a tasting menu. It should be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this dinner. Sounds great. Who's coming? Oh, just a friend from work. Friend from work? Yes. I don't think you want to tell me who it is. Well, you can guess. He again? Who? Your partner in crime. Yes. My partner in crime was another person on a 6-month rotation with another company, and he and I agreed early on that we would be each other's plus one at any events that back home would go to as a couple. It worked out pretty well. We'd attended a few social events over the last couple of months that would have been difficult to go to alone, but I knew my boyfriend at home was starting to get a little jealous about how much time we were spending together as a couple. My flatmate jokingly started calling him my partner in crime, and the nickname stuck so much so that in our group of friends I was referred to as partner in crime in his presence. To be honest, for me, dinner tomorrow is more like a date than a regular plus one. No, that's not true. Don't be jealous. There will be a bunch of other people we know. Everything at your table? At other tables. So this is a date, and you didn't want to tell me who it was with. No, not at all. I love you. I'm not going on dates with anyone else. You have nothing to worry about. Trust me. Sorry, I just miss you, that's all. I can't wait to meet you. I need to go. Can we try to call on the weekend? It all depends on the bachelor party. Yes, sounds good. Call whenever you want. I love you. I love you too. The conversation ended, and I leaned back on the bed. When he called it a date, he struck a chord with me, I'll be honest. I've always prided myself on being faithful and devoted, and with the exception of one slight wavering during my teenage years, I've always been 100% faithful to every guy throughout the years. Honestly, I loved him, but I was a little angry about what he said. My boyfriend and I have always avoided the question of what would be considered cheating and what would not. Personally, I was quite intolerant. I made it clear to him at the very beginning of our relationship that if he even just kissed another girl, let alone something more, that would most likely be the end. He was more relaxed and made it clear at various points that while he wouldn't tolerate me sleeping with someone else, he wouldn't mind too much if I kissed another man while intoxicated and gave me a lifetime license to do so. Whatever I want with another woman. Obviously, this dinner might have crossed a line that existed somewhere for him, and I suspected that most of all it had to do with jealousy. He would rather be at dinner with me and not with some other man. I walked out of the bedroom into the living room of my shared apartment and sat down on the sofa. Luck smiled on me when the fate of who would live with whom on this rotation was being decided, and I found myself in the company of a man who, despite the fact that he was from another country, shared many of my interests, but also, importantly, was very easy to communicate with. I think, or at least hope, that she thought the same about me. And luckily her English was excellent, with just a hint of an accent as my Dutch was completely absent. My flatmate was already in the living room, and by the expression on my face, she realized that something was bothering me. What's happened? It's dinner tomorrow. I was looking forward to it, and now my boyfriend is accusing me of it being a date and not just dinner with my partner in crime. Is this so? No, of course not. I wouldn't do that. I just love good food and good company. That's all there is to it. Okay, did you just see the way he looks at you? No, what do you mean? Well, when you're not looking, I often notice him sneaking glances at you, and he talks about you all the time. If I didn't know better, I would say that he has plans for the two of you, and they are not limited to a purely platonic relationship. Is it true? I honestly didn't notice. Are you sure? At 99%. I sat back and let it sink in. Maybe it's not such a good idea. My flatmate got up to leave the room, and as she was leaving I asked, "Do you think I should cancel?" Well, it depends only on you. Maybe there is a small part of you that also wants a date. Deep inside, he's a great guy and you obviously have chemistry with him. Do we have it? Yes, you flirt with him all the time. Honestly, everyone sees it. After thinking about it, I replied, I guess so, but it's harmless fun. I'm just worried about what my boyfriend will think. Listen, she said, he's not here. He's thousands of miles away. And he doesn't own you. You can enjoy dinner tomorrow without worrying about what he will think. And who knows if between you and your partner there is a spark in the crime. It's normal being attracted to another person is not prohibited. And if that spark grows into something more, well, you only live once and no one has to know. Are you serious? Do you think so? We all have our secrets. We all have our skeletons in the closet. God knows I have enough of them, and I'm sure you do too. Live life to the fullest. And what are you afraid of? You like him, right? I nodded. I saw the way you looked at him when we were on the beach. You definitely feel physically attracted to him, right? I blushed and nodded again. Would you date him if you didn't have a boyfriend? Maybe. Then just see how tomorrow evening goes. This could be the night that changes your life, and if not, you have a guy waiting for you at home. Maybe if my boyfriend wants to call it a date, then in my head, I'll call it a date too and enjoy it as a date. She laughed as she walked into her bedroom. Besides, you already paid a small fortune for the reservation in advance, and I know you don't like wasting money. It was true. I smiled back. Looks like I'm going out to dinner tomorrow. When I went to bed that night, trying to sleep, I was going over in my head what tomorrow night meant. Of course, when we booked, it was a great opportunity to try fine food in a nice location. But why did I invite my partner in crime and not one of my other friends? Was there some subconscious desire in me to test him on a real date? Was there something in me that subconsciously compared him to my boyfriend and found something I liked better? Of course, there would be no prejudice if I went with one of my friends. The more I thought about it, the more often the word date appeared in my head instead of the word dinner. I liked this sound. I started thinking back to the last time I went on dates, about 5 years ago. One of the things I've always found helpful is to think ahead about what I'm willing to do and how far I'm willing to go on this date if things go well. That way, when a date inevitably began to hint at sex, I was clear about what I wanted and what I didn't want. My golden rule since I started dating is no sex on the first date. Kisses, yes, a lot of kisses, yes, maybe even hands that go under clothes, yes, but no form of sex, and no return to his home. I always thought it was important to wait until the second or third date to have sex, but honestly, once it got to that point, there usually wasn't much of a deterrent. Tomorrow's date was difficult. Of course, I wasn't going to have sex with him, no matter what happened. If everything goes incredibly well, and it really is the date that changes my life like my roommate said, who knows what will happen next. But there will still be time for this. This will definitely not happen on the first evening. No chance. It wouldn't be right for my boyfriend, even if he's thousands of miles away. What about the rest? While I was thinking about this, an image began to form in my head of the partner in crime caressing my breasts and placing his hand between my legs while my hand touched his. Hot, exciting, yes. But can this be done on the first date? No. There were still kisses. Will I let him kiss me? Will I kiss him? The image popped into my head again, and I realized that perhaps what I had missed most over the past couple of months was kissing. You can touch yourself, you can stroke yourself, but you cannot kiss yourself. And the kiss ultimately doesn't pose much of a risk to my relationship. My boyfriend himself said that he doesn't see a big problem in random kissing while drunk. So even if he somehow found out about it, it wouldn't be the end of the relationship worst-case scenario. I could make things better by showing remorse and offering something nice, maybe offering something juicy when he arrives. Definitely a manageable problem. Pondering these options led to the expected result. I became very horny. Almost every night I fell asleep touching myself, trying to compensate in the best possible way for the lack of real sex. I've had various fantasies that have worked for me, mostly involving my boyfriend, but I'll admit, on more than one occasion I've imagined my partner in crime, and when I'm in the mood for something a little more racy, one with my best friend from home, for whom I always had a hidden sympathy and handcuffed. Today, while I was touching myself, I created a new fantasy in which I kissed my partner in crime and then apologized to my boyfriend, giving him the best pleasure of my life. I felt the tension growing in me, imagining how I was kissing. I should have stopped and returned to the previous image, but this picture was so passionate, so hot that I could not. And even if I wanted to, the residual irritation from our conversation earlier meant that I wanted to get back with a little revenge. Wow, it was something. And also, damn it. Because, of course, giving pleasure was not part of the plans for tomorrow evening. No way. When I had the image in my head of my friend handcuffing me to the bed and starting to fondle me, I imagined the partner in crime walking into the room naked and starting making love to her. As I fell asleep thinking about different possibilities, I made one decision: yes, kissing on our date was okay. I will gladly kiss him. A strict no sex, I have to leave that for my fantasies. As for hands under clothes, maybe that's a no, but maybe if the date goes really incredibly well. The next morning, I woke up with butterflies in my stomach. I couldn't believe how nervous I was. As our dinner transitioned from dinner with a friend to date in my head, the nerves I used to feel when I went on dates began to kick in. After showering and getting dressed for work, I grabbed breakfast to eat on the way to work, which took about 10 minutes. As usual, my flatmate came with me, which was usually a great opportunity to chat. This morning I felt pensivechevoy. My nerves were obvious. "Are you okay?" she asked as we left our building. I smiled. Yes, just yesterday before going to bed, I thought a lot about our conversation. "And?" she asked. I blushed. "I have a date tonight." Saying this out loud made me feel even worse and avoided looking into her eyes. She stopped and put her hand on my arm to make me stop too. "Is it true?" I looked at her and nodded. "Yes, you only live once, right? I think that's what you said." "How exciting," she said, continuing to walk. "Are you going to give in?" "What?" I answered. She laughed. "You don't have to pretend that you're so innocent. You are a grown woman. Are you going to give in?" I sighed. "Well, I thought about it a lot last night." She laughed again. "Yes, I heard." My face turned bright red. Pretending that I didn't understand anything, I replied, "What did you hear?" "You know, our walls are thin, and my bed is right behind yours. But it's okay, I'm sure you can hear me sometimes too, if that makes you feel better." So, like I said, I thought about it a lot last night, but not in the way you think. I think if everything goes well, The kissing will be fine. I can explain it to my boyfriend if I need to, but nothing more. Wow, you really thought about this a lot. Do you think this is normal? Yes, sure. You are a grown woman. If you want to kiss him tonight, then you should do it. Honestly, if you want to have sex with him all over our apartment, then you should too. Just let me know in advance so I can disappear. I'm not going to do this, no way. Kissing, I can live with it. Sex is taboo while I'm with someone else. Sounds fair. Do you want my advice? Always, just don't tell me to sleep with him. There have been several times when I went on dates and set similar restrictions for myself. But then, in the heat of the moment, I got carried away and ended up sleeping with someone, which I later regretted. To avoid this, I wear the worst, least sexy, most mismatched underwear under every outfit I wear. That way, if it comes down to it, you'll remember it and be so embarrassed that you won't do anything. It works like an enchantment spell for me. That's not a bad idea, actually. Thank you. We continued on our way, switching to the topic of her weekend trip with one of our friends. I was a little jealous of her as the two of them went to a 5-star beach resort just a short flight away and returned on Sunday. I just hope she relaxes a little while we're there, my friend told me, talking about the friend she was going with. She can be too serious, but I want to have a little fun. A friend was in a similar situation to me. She had a long-term boyfriend who stayed at home, but she was never able to break away the way I learned. Have fun? What do you mean, have fun? Or is it fun to meet a guy? She laughed. Maybe both. Well, you have separate rooms, right? So, if you want to find a guy and sleep with him all over your room, then you should do it. I teased, repeating her own words from earlier. We walked up to our offices, and as we went our separate ways to the different teams we were working on, she asked, "Are you going home after work to get ready, or are you going straight to a date?" "SHH, don't call it that here," I whispered. Speaking in a normal tone, she added, "Yes, I'm going home first. Will you be home?" "Yes, I will return home before heading to the airport. See you later." The workday went by as usual slowly, but eventually it ended. We had a team lunch, which was a nice break, and after lunch we were celebrating a staff member's birthday, so there was a chance to eat cake in the office. When the time passed 5 in the evening, I began to get ready to go home, and my nerves began to overcome me again. Suddenly, the date became very real. When I got home, I checked my phone and saw a message from my partner in crime. "Looking forward to dinner tonight. I just got out of the shower and was wondering what to wear. Is there a dress code?" Just got out of the shower, so he was probably naked when he sent the message. An image instantly appeared in my head, and I felt a slight excitement ignite inside me. Just got out of the shower. This is such a revealing piece of information. It looks like he was flirting a little in that message. We play on equal terms, I thought, and answered. I'm waiting too. The dress code is formal, so perhaps a suit and tie. What do you think I should wear? I'm in the bath right now, but I have 2 options for dresses. Let's see how he likes it. My response, "I'm in the bath," to his, "I just got out of the shower." I hope this excites his imagination. Okay, the suit sounds good. Is a white shirt okay? I'm getting a little cold standing here in just my boxers while I decide. Tell me about your dresses. Standing in only boxers. I saw him on the beach a couple of times in just his swim trunks, and he had an amazing body. I knew he exercised regularly, and I couldn't help but notice the muscles on his stomach. The mental image fueled my fantasy a little more. Yes, a white shirt will do. I'm just drying off and getting ready to put on my underwear. Dress 1 is a black cocktail dress with a high collar and twist that goes around the neck. It goes down to the calves, but has a slit on one side. I wear it with high heels. Dress 2 is a blue mini dress that hits mid-thigh, worn with knee-high boots. Have I gone too far? It was obvious flirting. Although a rather awkward flirtation, it still made me think. You better put on your underwear quickly. I don't want you to get cold. Both dresses sound great, but what about option 1? I quickly replied, agreed, option 1, CUX. As soon as I hit send, I realized that I had written an X at the end of the message. Crap, I didn't mean to do this. I had never signed a message to him this way before, and it might have sent the wrong signal. I just wrote it out of habit. See you, looking forward to it X. Okay, I'll have to do something about this before my boyfriend gets here. I don't think my boyfriend would like messages from another guy with an X at the end. But that's a problem for another day. I spent the next half hour getting ready, taking a shower rather than a fictitious bath, putting on makeup, wearing perfume, and putting on the dress of option 1. I took my neighbor's advice and chose the largest, least attractive underwear I could find and a bra that, although not beautiful, in my opinion, it provided the best support and shape to my breasts. I walked out of the bedroom and my flatmate called me from her room. Are you going on your date yet? She smiled. Apparently, she had fun making fun of it. Yes, I'm just going downstairs to catch a taxi. What do you think? I asked, making a slight turn to show myself. Wow, he better watch out. You look amazing. Very amazing. She smiled again. So amazing that if he doesn't want to sleep with you, maybe I will when I get home on Sunday. I knew she was joking. It was just her way of emphasizing how good I looked. But it was nice to hear the compliment. I took your advice about underwear. I stopped to give her a quick hug. I wish you a great trip. Okay, underwear always works. Enjoy and look forward to hearing your story on Sunday. As I stepped out of the taxi outside the hotel where dinner was taking place, my nerves began to mount. What am I doing? Should I cancel? Late. I walked into the lobby and noticed the bar where we had agreed to meet for a pre-dinner drink. My partner in crime was already there, sitting at a table on the terrace overlooking the sea. When he saw me, he stood up to greet me with a kiss on the cheek, and I returned the favor. He smelled nice. He then stepped back to look at what I was wearing. Wow, I shouldn't say this, but you look incredible. Option 1 was definitely the right choice. He assessed me from head to toe, and as I turned to sit down, I noticed him sneaking glances at my ass and breasts. I couldn't object, because I myself suggested these thoughts to him with my messages. You don't look too bad either, I replied. That was an understatement. The white shirt fit him perfectly, highlighting his figure and also highlighting his muscles. Meanwhile, his suit pants showed off his firm, muscular ass. He ordered 2 glasses of champagne, and while I drank my glass, I began to relax. It was really nice. The conversation was easy. He asked about my neighbor, we discussed our expectations for dinner, and so on. We both realized that we didn't have much planned the next day, so we might as well enjoy some wine with dinner. About half an hour later, we walked into the restaurant and began to enjoy an incredible dinner. There were 8 courses served throughout the evening, each accompanied by a glass of wine. I tried not to rush, but I noticed that already somewhere in the middle, I began to feel slightly intoxicated. The atmosphere was amazing. It felt like we were the only ones at the table, even though there were people around. Very romantic. I don't think my boyfriend would like it. The conversation went wonderfully, as I expected. We got along great and talked about everything, and as my flatmate pointed out, there was quite a bit of flirting. When we had almost finished eating, I turned the conversation to his personal life. He didn't talk about it often, and I was curious. So, tell me about your last girlfriend, I asked. He smiled, and that smile looked great on him. It might have been the alcohol, but when he smiled, my heart began to beat faster. What's there to tell? He answered. We started dating at school and stayed together throughout university, even though we studied in different places. We continued dating but broke up a few months ago. She decided she wasn't ready to settle down without experiencing more in life, and me moving here was the natural moment for that. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you miss her? I asked, taking his hand to comfort him. Thank you, yes, I miss you, but I've already let you go. He smiled again, squeezing my hand. We talked a little more about her, then he asked about my personal life, and I told him about my boyfriend and that I had several boyfriends back in school and university. So, what's your number? He asked. Number? You mean how many people did I have? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. Okay, my simple one. One. Damn, it was obvious. I should have guessed. I have a little more. How about you guess? It's a lose-lose situation for me, he laughed. Either I guess too high and you'll be offended, or too low and you'll be offended. Come on, I won't be offended, I promise. Okay, I'll guess 7. Not bad, but I must admit that it's a little more. 11, I think. Isn't it too much? No, not at all. 11 means you have experience, you know what you're doing, but you're also picky. I blushed a little at this. I certainly didn't think of myself as someone with experience. So, with your experience, he continued, I think we should play a little game. There was a sparkle in his eye, and I think for both him and me, the wine weakened our tongues. Cold. So, tell me 3 things. Your favorite position out of all your experiences, the hottest thing you've ever done with either of them, and your secret fantasy that you've never told anyone. Okay, I'm in. But you have to tell me yours too. Agreed? Agreed. Now it's your turn to start first. That's fair. Favorite pose? Missionary. I tried to speak confidently, but looked away a little embarrassed. It's a great pose, no doubt about it. Why? You didn't say I had to explain why. So uninteresting, he laughed. Okay, why missionary? Well, I like the contact all over my body. I like that I can kiss my partner while I do it. And I like that I can wrap my legs around him and pull him towards me. My God, I thought, did I really say that out loud? It's fair. Okay, now it's my turn. Behind. Without a doubt. I love the feeling of control and the view. And the feeling is simply incredible. Everyone has their own preferences. It's not a position I've ever liked, but I'm glad that you like it. You were just doing it wrong. Now it's your turn to start first. What's the hottest thing you've ever done with your ex? We were experimenting with sex, so we tied each other up, spanked each other, used restraints, things like that. It was incredibly exciting. There was one time when she was cuffed to the head of the bed with handcuffs on her wrists and the foot end on her ankles. It was an incredible night. Sorry, I said too much. No, don't worry, I said as the image of me stretched out and chained to the bed while he made love flashed through my mind. This conversation started to really turn me on. And how are you with this? This will definitely surprise you, I said. Try. Well, with the 11th partner, whom I met not so long ago in a nightclub in London. It was after I started dating my boyfriend, and we had a night of amazing sex. I felt arousal come over me again, just from the memory of it. All night long, it was incredible. But it was only one night, I didn't see her again. He fell silent for a moment. She. I smiled. Yes. Surprised? Absolutely. Did you have sex with a woman you met in a nightclub? Yes. It was great. I lowered my voice to a whisper. Honestly, I'd like to try again someday. Now he looked a little embarrassed. I think he was imagining me with another woman, and he liked what he saw in his mind. And your boyfriend didn't care? No, not at all. We agreed in advance that I would have permission to do this, provided that I told him about it. It seemed like a fair deal. Wow. Okay, that was a strong move. I feel like I'm learning something new about you. I never would have thought you were capable of this. Now it's your turn first, secret fantasy. Well, besides the fact that I just admitted that I want to repeat the experience with another woman, and I've never told anyone about it before. My secret fantasy, I'm too embarrassed to say. Come on, your secret's safe with me. I would like to be dominated. I've always been quite dominant in my professional life, and I don't like to play dominant and submissive roles in relationships because I think it disrupts the power dynamic. But one day I would like to be dominated. Hard. Oh my God, did I actually say that out loud? I looked at him, and his face seemed to say one thing. He was clearly imagining something that probably included me and harsh treatment. This is a good fantasy. Wow. And you've never tried this? No, never. But one day, yes. Now it's your turn. Okay, this is something on my bucket list. I'm a little embarrassed to say it. He lowered his voice and whispered, unconventional sex. I smiled. An interesting option. Why? I never tried it. My ex wasn't happy about it. And to me, that feels like the most intimate, most personal act of love that can be. To trust someone enough to let them do it. Good answer. Of all the possible reasons, this is a pretty good one, and I think a lot better than most guys. You tried it right. It must be with your experience. He asks me if I have tried this kind of sex. At dinner, it gets quite intimate. But this didn't bother me. Wine and the evening removed my barriers. Yes, with several partners. This is fine. It doesn't really matter to me. It's not much fun for a girl, so when you find someone you want to try it with, make sure you pay attention to her needs as well. But I think I generally like it. He looked thoughtful. Thank you, I appreciate it. So now we know much more about each other than we did. Tell me how you met your boyfriend. We continued talking and continued the conversation. The topics varied, but I could see that one thing from our discussion stuck in his head. Your night is with another woman, he said. Your boyfriend really didn't care? No, not at all. We agreed that I could get permission at any time to do anything with another woman, so it was just a matter of taking the opportunity when it presented itself. He was completely calm about it. So you and him seem to have an open relationship. I understood what he was getting at. In a way, I don't think it would bother him too much if he accidentally kissed someone, but other things could be more problematic. For example, well, a novel would be a big no. Other things depend on the context. And what? Oh, just curiosity. Although from the look in my eyes at that moment, it was clear that it was not only that. We soon finished dinner, and when everything was completed, he asked, do you want me to order a taxi for you home? That's very nice of you, but, I was wondering if you'd like to go get a drink somewhere else. Of course, with pleasure. Where? Well, there's a beach bar and club downstairs. I heard it's good. How about there? The club was so noisy that we had to lean over and shout in each other's ears to be heard. We ordered cocktails that suited the atmosphere of the place and went to sit at a table on the edge of the dance floor. It was hot there, the sea breeze helped to cool down a little, but it was still not as cool as in an air-conditioned restaurant. We couldn't talk much due to the noise, so our conversation was reduced to shouting loudly in each other's ears while we sat very close. I think we were both on the verge of intoxication by that point, and sitting so close, our legs were touching. Still can't believe your hottest story, that was really hot, he shouted. I didn't know you had a side like that. I laughed. Trust me, behind that calm facade is the real me, which is quite adventurous. Is it true? Yes, absolutely. Let me prove it. Let's go dance. And I grabbed his hand and led him to the dance floor. Actually, I'm just an ordinary dancer, but I like to just give in to the movement. I think he was the same, and we spent the next 10 or 15 minutes dancing together. Do you want to take a shot? He asked after we had danced for a while. Are you trying to get me drunk? I answered, laughing. It's too late for this. I'm already drunk. He smiled and walked towards the bar while I continued to dance. After a minute or two, a couple of guys came up to me and started dancing next to me. At first it didn't bother me, but they started dancing too close, and one of them came close from behind. Can I buy you a drink? He shouted. No, thank you. Why not? I used my proven method. Because my boyfriend is about to get back from the bar. He looked at me in disbelief, but at that moment my partner in crime returned with 2 shots. Everything is fine? He asked. She says you are her boyfriend. I don't believe it. I think she wants to talk to us. It's so tiring when men think they can just show up, beat their chests, and claim a woman on the dance floor. But in this situation, it was an easy way out. I turned to my partner in crime, took the shot from him, downed it in one gulp, made him do the same, and then kissed him passionately on the lips, pulling his head towards me with one hand and placing the other on his thigh. He froze for a second and then responded by starting to kiss me back, his hands resting on my hips, and I noticed how he squeezed them lightly. We probably continued like this for about 10 seconds, until I pulled away and saw that the guys had already disappeared. "Phew, we're done with them," I said with a laugh. "Shall we go sit down again?" I suggested, taking his hand and leading him away, kicking him back to our seats. He seemed a little dazed by what had happened in the last couple of minutes, which wasn't surprising. When we sat down again, he asked, "What was that?" "Oh, it's just a way to deal with guys. It's okay." "No, I'm talking about a kiss. You really kissed me. What was that? Do you always do this? I think I drank half your shot along with mine." Maybe it was partly due to the alcohol, but I had an amazing evening and really enjoyed his company. I remembered conversations with my flatmate, and a thought arose in my head. To hell with it, you only live once. I leaned over and kissed him again. This time for real, with passion. He answered willingly, and we kissed for a long time, our tongues meeting and our hands exploring each other. It was probably a little too much for a public place, but at this stage of the evening, we were far from the only couple acting like this in the club, so it wouldn't have caused a problem. We broke away from each other. "Are you sure you want this?" he asked. I bit my lip and looked at him as seductively as possible. "Yes, absolutely." And we started kissing again, this time slower, but with more passion. This was becoming a problem. As I planned in my head in the peace of my bedroom, I assumed that my old, tried and true tactics regarding dating and the do's and don'ts would still work. But I didn't take into account the fact that no one had kissed me in the last 2 months, whereas before I was kissing random people all the time. This kiss was so good, so satisfying a need I didn't even know I had, that I began to get more aroused than I had ever been excited by a simple kiss before. I wanted something more so badly that I could barely contain myself. If I had been sober, common sense would have kicked in, but with my inhibitions lowered due to drinking, I could no longer stop. I wanted him. I wanted it completely. It doesn't matter what happens next. I needed him tonight. "How about we find a quieter place? Where can you do more without getting kicked out of the club?" I suggested. "Do more? Of course, where?" he answered. "Should we try sneaking to the beach?" We got up and walked out, heading towards the beach. When you visit these hotels, there is a trick to getting down to the beach, even if you are not a guest. The main thing is to act as if you are the boss here and have every right to be on the beach. If you do this, it will take a very brave guard to risk stopping you, and then being called before the authorities if you turn out to be an outraged guest. We'd both lived here long enough to know this, and as we walked hand in hand towards the beach, the security guard even greeted us with a "good evening," probably laughing to himself at yet another pair of drunken hotel guests. I took off my shoes once we were on the deserted sand, and we walked towards a row of cabanas located on one side. When I reached the first free boar, I pulled my partner in crime down onto the pillows and literally pounced on him. Leaning down to kiss him, we started kissing hungrily, and it turned into passionate caresses that we honestly couldn't stop. This was the stage that I forbade myself, but as they say never. We started caressing each other. After that, we lay there and laughed. We lay there for a little while, kissing and hugging. I felt safe with him. If it was some guy who was just looking for a casual relationship, I would thank him at that point and take a taxi home. But I could trust him. He only had one sexual partner, and that gave me a lot of confidence. As I looked at him, it seemed to me that the idea of being his second was quite exciting. "How about we find a place that's even quieter?" I suggested. He raised an eyebrow at me. "I'm serious. Don't make me say it out loud." He grinned, teasing me. "Say it. I want you to say, please." I leaned towards his ear, kissed him, then whispered while biting his earlobe. "How about we go somewhere quieter so you can have passionate sex with me, the only chance?" He smiled. "I would love it. I have an idea. Can you give me 5 minutes? I'll be back soon." I fought my way through all my inhibitions, but now I didn't care. I wanted him. fully. 5 minutes is usually not that long. But try to make 5 minutes don't feel like 17 hours when you've just let a man who isn't your boyfriend know you want to sleep with him, and he then disappears with a vague promise to return. While I waited, I nervously stared at the moon as it set over the waves lapping the beach, while my thoughts raced between laughing and making a joke when he returned to confessing everything to my boyfriend and begging for forgiveness, to the point of hoping with all my heart that he would return and take me away from here. Mixed with this, my thoughts returned to the fantasies I harbored about him. Ultimately, I knew I had made a decision when I decided not to cancel the meeting the night before. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I realized that was when I made up my mind. I needed someone to make love to me, and in the absence of my boyfriend, I found a very suitable alternative. Of course, besides, if I were free, I would most likely have been dating this alternative for several weeks. I looked at my watch. 5 minutes passed, he was gone, then 6 minutes, then 7. Despair began to slowly boil in my stomach. I was already beginning to think that I had ruined everything, and that he simply left me when I saw him returning along the beach. He noticed me and smiled, and at that moment my heart jumped a little. He's back. "What's taking so long?" I asked when he sat down again. He reached into his pocket and placed 2 key cards on the table. "I've wanted you since we first met, and I won't be happy with this happening in one of our apartments. These are the keys to one of the sea view suites with a terrace. If we do it right." "I don't even know what to say," I replied. "That sounds great. Are you sure?" "Yes, absolutely. I want it to be a special moment." "Okay, but I have 3 rules. First, this can only be for today. When the night is over, we have to stop this." He nodded in agreement with this. "Second, since it's just for today, let's make the most of it." He blushed slightly at the thought, but nodded again. "And finally, I'll now go to the room to get ready. You are not to go in there for the next 20 minutes, and when you do, I want you to do whatever I say. Do you agree with this?" He nodded again. "Yeah, that sounds great." I stood up, took one of the keys, then walked over to kiss him lightly. With that, I picked up my shoes and headed down the beach, trying to show off my figure as much as possible. When I entered the room, I immediately began to look around it, imagining what we could arrange here. Upon entering, I found myself in a hallway with a guest bathroom on the left, then into a large living room on one side, with a bedroom on the other side. The bedroom had sliding doors leading into the living room, a large modern 4-poster bed, and an en-suite shower room with a huge shower. The living room had a large corner sofa area around the TV, a dining table with a few chairs, and a well-stocked bar. Off the living room was a terrace that ran the length of the suite with stunning views of the beach and sea. Fortunately, no one in this area could see us unless we wanted to. This number certainly didn't come cheap, but what a wonderful place this is for what I have in mind. As I looked around, I started to get different ideas, and I saw that there was a lot that could be done here. My excitement was at its peak, and I could already imagine how our evening would develop. However, the first problem was related to underwear. In those naive moments just a few hours ago, I deliberately wore the most unattractive and mismatched underwear to prevent myself from temptation. Well, that obviously didn't work. The solution was simple. I took off my dress and put away my unfortunate underwear, stashing it in a drawer in the bedroom. I was about to put the dress back on, but then I stopped and a bold thought popped into my head. I wanted him, and I wanted him as soon as possible, so why waste time? I put the dress in the closet and returned to the living room completely naked, wearing only my high heels and jewelry. He didn't know what awaited him. While I waited for the right time, I opened the door to the terrace to let in the warm sea breeze, then went to the bar and found a bottle of champagne. Since I've made up my mind, I thought, and poured myself a glass. I took the glass and sat on the sofa, hidden from the door to the suite, but remaining visible to anyone who entered the living room, and waited. As I sat there, I thought about the fantasies I had with him, and especially came back to the image I had at dinner. Me in his ex-girlfriend's place, stretched out and chained to the bed. I was ready. I didn't have to wait long. Soon I heard the key being inserted into the lock and someone coming inside. For a moment I was afraid it might be one of the hotel staff, but then he walked into the living room, saw me, and froze in place with his jaw hanging open. "Wow," was all he could say. "Wow, wow, wow." I stood up from the back of the couch and slowly walked around him, giving him the opportunity to fully inspect my figure from behind before turning to him. With my heels on, I was the same height as him, and as I got closer, I bent down to unbutton his pants. "I want you," I whispered. I stood up again. "I want you right now," I said. We had wild sex. He pressed himself against my neck and muttered quietly, "I'm glad you liked it. It was truly unforgettable." Finally, we separated and lay down side by side, kissing again with the same passion. Our hands again began to explore each other's bodies. After a few minutes, I was horny again, and he seemed to be too. This time, the sex was completely different, but no less amazing. Unlike the previous stormy round in the room, or even the rapid caresses on the beach, now everything was much more calm and sensual, and from this all the sensations became even deeper. My partner in crime took his time, setting a slow, even sometimes almost imperceptible rhythm as our excitement gradually increased. We kissed for a long time, our tongues explored each other, and our hands continued to caress each other while I wrapped my legs around him and pulled him towards me. I stole a glance in the mirror again, and the sight of him slowly making love to me in that most sensual position was incredibly erotic. When we finished, we lay down next to each other, kissing for a long time with new passion. And in this position, after one of the most intense nights of my life, we both finally fell asleep. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.